one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment. What you captured, just let it slip.
Yo. Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live with your show Profit Time from Louisville, Kentucky. Man, have we got a nice day going on today and got a great show planned. We've got a special guest with me today. If you didn't see it on my social media or not, I'm sure you're going to appreciate the knowledge that you're going to get today because this guy, when it comes to chemicals, if he doesn't know it, he'll lie to you. Tell you, no. Actually, Steven's been on my show before, and he's a great guy. He knows his product very well. He knows everybody's product very well. I'll just go ahead and say that. I know, we don't toot our own horns very much, and I'm so sure he won't either. But he's very knowledgeable. He's a young fella, and I appreciate the knowledge that he's got. When I say he's young, a lot younger than I am. But I've got kids probably close to his age. So, but anyway, Steven's a great guy to work with, and he's got a great product, and he's going to talk to us a little bit today as we move into our show on early order and the advantage of those early orders. And we also got the world-famous Truth Bomb Friday. Yes, indeedy. We're not going to miss out on Truth Bomb Friday today for sure. So looking forward to a good show with that. And I got 637 other things we're going to talk about. So you know how it goes, man. I got 2 pages that I look at when I'm talking to you guys, and then the texts start coming in, and I normally just take 80% of my show to the next show because I never got to what was on the paper. So with all that being said, man, hey, how's your week been? Hope you've had a great week, and everything's been going good for you. I know we had a pretty wet week is what I'll say here in Kentucky. Predominantly Louisville for sure. We were in the sweet spot for a lot of rain. So I think last time I looked, I got tired of seeing how much it was. I think they said 3.5 inches or something. So over a couple days. So it rained. I don't even know when it rained. I think Monday and Wednesday. It rained Monday. And, it ain't very often we get rained out, for a full day. But, I mean, Mother Nature accomplished it. I mean, we got rained out Monday. We got rained out Wednesday. There are a couple guys I know that got a few yards in. And, while it was raining, and I get that too. I'll never criticize the guy. I don't throw anybody under the bus because what I don't know is what situation they're in. We got some crazy customers sometimes that say, I don't care, man, just get it done. So, hey, if I don't get it done or you don't get it done, somebody will get it done. So, I don't criticize. You see a whole lot of criticizing that goes on social media, man. And I think that's one thing we can get better at. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Smoking Joe says Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in Lawrenceburg for them. They had plenty of rain, yeah. So it is what it is. Like I always say, Mother Nature is in control for sure. But, hey, we're catching up. Yesterday we had an outstanding day at Wayne's Lawn Service. Hopefully you did too if you got to get back out. And it's pretty tough, when you start out 109 behind, I mean, just that's the way Tuesday morning was, and we got quite a bit done Tuesday. And, I say 109, whether you're 5 behind or 100 behind or 10,000 yards behind, it's all based on your company size. It's all the same. So it doesn't matter. You think, damn, man, 100 or 200 or, 20 behind for a one-truck operation's a lot. So, hey, whatever size you are, the pain of being behind. And, I mean, that just is what it is. So, don't get hung up in the customer count thing that sometimes guys throw out there or, that's why I don't talk a whole lot about that end of it a lot. But we're going to have a pretty good day here at Wayne's Lawn Service. I know that. Normally we try to bail out of here early on Friday, but I think we got a catch-up day. And even though today is like one of my favorite days of the year, and obviously being here on Turfs Up Radio with everybody is always, I enjoy the heck out of that. But this is St. X Trinity game day. For you guys across the country that are into high school football, I went to Trinity High School here in Louisville, and we got a pretty big rivalry game. And matter of fact, it ranks up there nationally with some of the bigger ones. So, now, I mean, we can't compete with Texas and things like that. I mean, those guys are – well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not throwing Trinity under the bus. We've never played teams from Texas that I know of. I mean, we played a lot of teams from a lot of different places. But the reality of it is pretty good. Now, this year, I'm going to tell you straight up, we sucked. It is. I mean, hey, we're everybody's homecoming game this year for some reason. I don't know why, but we are. But we're not a bad team. We're playing okay, but we're losing. So at the end of the day, it's a loss is a loss. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Same way, you look at a P&L or a balance sheet or whatever it is, man. When you go in the wrong direction, you got to turn the ship, man. So Trinity needs to turn the ship. We got a new coach this year. He's a great guy, great coach. But, 21 out of 22 starters left our high school football team, graduated. So, hey, I think we're I think we're 0-4, So, and then tonight we got our big rivalry game. So, I don't know. Normally about 25,000 or so show up for this game, but I don't know how to play out. I'm not sure how to play out. But just got a text from a guy. Aaron said St. X went down there and played his local team, and beat their local school. So yeah, St. X is, I'm glad, if they win this year, they win. That's what makes it a good rivalry. If you beat somebody all the time, it's not even fun playing. So. But anyway, this isn't going to be a high school football segment on Prophet Time, but Steven's over here kind of giggling and laughing at me. But it's like, how does a guy 58 years old get into high school football? I'm just going to tell you, man, that football game is just not a normal game, And it's changed a whole lot, to be honest with you. Back when I was in high school, man, it was a love-hate relationship. I mean, yeah. It was. I mean, you always pulled for the Catholic schools, but when you played each other, man, you wouldn't put them out if they were on fire. That day or that week. It's a whole week of it. So, with that being said, I'm not going to bore you guys nationally and internationally with something that's happening one little pin drop of the world. So, but anyways, what are you doing this weekend? You got plans? You doing something fun? I hope. Got a text from a guy says has a niece and a nephew go to X. Well, he might have a nephew, but he might have another nephew that it's not a co-ed school. So I don't know, Aaron, you're messing with me or something, man. But but might have a nephew there. But and niece might work there. But So hey, I'm not here to judge none of it, man. I'm not here to judge none of it. So. As we move along with Prophet Time today, man, we had a weird thing happen this morning just before we came on. Guy called in to just confirm a date on some aeration that we're doing, and I thought I'd share this with you. And anytime I talk to somebody on the telephone or we talk to somebody on the telephone here, I like to confirm an address with somebody, So he's like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm on your list for when I get done. And I said, yeah, would you confirm the address? And he says, yeah, it's 10417. And he gave me the street name and all. And I'm like, oh, hell, and I'm looking right at our schedule board on the computer, and I had it as 10414. So point is, there's a lot of things we do. When I say we, me, you, and the next person maybe, that are repetitious that you think, man, why do we do it? Why do we do it? Because it doesn't matter. There's a perfect case of where it does matter because, the same people that spray that yard here for us are probably not going to be, and not probably, aren't going to be the same person that goes out and does the aeration. Now, that may never happen to you as a smaller company. This is just you talk about growing pains within a company. When I was the one guy on the one truck doing all my jobs with all my customers, guess what I never did? I never mowed the wrong address. Okay? But as your company grows and you start to service more people and you got one truck or two trucks or three trucks or 20 trucks or 100 trucks going to different places, I'm going to tell you, you're going to mow the wrong address. You're going to spray the wrong yard. You're going to almost aerate the wrong yard, and that person's been a customer for a long time. But the reality of it is, the guys that are going out to aerate it wouldn't know it, because they're not the ones that are spraying it, So just some growing pains. We'll talk about that. But anyway, as we move right along, it's already 10:10 a.m. I guess we're up on our first break. But I thought it was worth sharing that address thing with you. If you don't take anything else away from our show today, whether it's with Stephen West as he talks about early orders or from our Truth Bomb segment, take that away that as your company grows, anytime you get an opportunity to confirm something with somebody, just reconfirm it. It takes a second. They don't mind, and certainly going to help you. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. We'll be right back.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Playing the best music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Attention all veterans. Have you heard about Turfs Up Radio's Jobs for Vets program? If you are looking for a job and you're interested in working in the landscape and snow removal profession, there just might be a company in your local area that is looking to hire. All you have to do is send us your resume at jobsforvets@turfsupradio.com. That's jobsforvets@turfsupradio.com. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Lawn and landscape pros need to keep their competitive edge, and the easiest way to do that is by attending GIE Plus Expo this October 20th through the 22nd. There's only one word to describe the biggest action-packed experience in the outdoor equipment industry. Wow! Over 1,000 indoor exhibits wall-to-wall with innovative products and the latest technology. Talk face-to-face with the engineers that design your favorite equipment. Then step outside and dive into the hands-on demo area where you can drive, dig, and compare equipment to your heart's delight. This year, the wow gets even bigger with the new UTV test track, the hands-on drone zone, and free parking. Free parking! Register now at GIE-Expo.com, and we'll see you in Louisville, Kentucky this October.
That's right. Make plans now to attend the GIE Plus Expo. Less than a month away now. So, yeah, we're creeping in on it. And, hey, if you haven't made your reservations yet, you still got plenty of time. Get your reservation. There's still hotel rooms available. You'll appreciate coming. And, there's going to be a lot of educational opportunities. Everybody from Turfs Up Radio there. We're going to have our new time machine there that you're going to absolutely love, man. It's crazy. I got to look at it. I got a picture of it the other day, man. You guys are going to love it. And not to mention, on October 21st, that's Thursday, Heritage Landscape Supply Group is sponsoring a Big and Rich concert. So be sure to get your free tickets for that. Simply go to heritagelandscapesupply.group.com. Get your free tickets, free food, free drinks, free music, and not to mention an awesome opportunity to sit there and rub elbows with a whole lot of people, And when I say that, okay, yes, we're COVID conscious, and if you want to wear a mask, that's cool. I wear a mask still a lot when I go out different places, a lot of crowds. But there's going to be a opportunity for the Heritage, Chris and his whole group from the Landscape Supply. They're going to be there. Turfs Up Radio, we're going to be there. Your friends are going to be there. Now all we need to do is add you.
Isn't it nice when the weather cooperates and crews complete jobs on time and on budget? But weather can cause delays, and with paper route sheets, jobs get lost in the shuffle. That's why you need Aspire Crew Control scheduling software, an easy-to-use, flexible, and affordable solution that allows you to shift schedules with a single click. Try Aspire Crew Control for free at aspirecrewcontrol.com.
Absolutely. Take advantage of that 14-day free trial with those guys. Man, aspirecrewcontrol.com. If you want to make your life easy, check it out.
Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., The Weekend Review.
The Weekend Review.
Join King Darren and all of your favorite Turfs Up radio hosts, including Heculus, Eric, the Turf Teacher Jones, Ryan Lee, Wayne, the Prophet Bowles,
One opportunity.
his son Daniel, the Ford, the Green Veteran, and many more. Join us live as we unpack the week and share what you may have missed live on Turfs Up Radio. That's The Weekend Review, Saturdays, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Oh, yeah. It's already here tomorrow. Can y'all believe it? 9 a.m. tomorrow. Join us Saturday. You know, I know some of you guys might be out in the field working, catching up from the rain or whatnot. But, you know, if not, hey, you know, yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Just got a text from a guy. Are we live today? Absolutely. We're live from sunny Louisville, Kentucky. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I got a pretty neat text came in from a gentleman I'd like to share with you guys before we move along. And Mike actually sent this to us, and he says, confirmation calls, or hold on a second, I lost my place. Confirmation calls or text are a must, in my opinion. Shows the client your professionalism. Absolutely. You know, it's the little things. You know, we talk about it all the time. It's the little things we do that make us difference. He said, whenever my high school team would play great but we lose, my coach would always say, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. You know, absolutely. You know, hey, we got to do it right. We got to do the little things better. That's old Vince Lombardi. You know, I don't do a lot of reading, but Vince Lombardi is one of the few guys that I read quite a bit on. And, you know, for you guys that might be too young to remember Vince Lombardi, he was a great football coach, Green Bay Packers. And you don't have to like the Packers necessarily, but he was a great coach and won. And one of the things he used to do, and I talk about this quite a bit when I'm doing my seminars too, when I start, because it's very important. He said he would start football practice every day. He'd walk in holding a football, and he'd say, gentlemen, this is a football. And he said, I know they thought I was insulting their intelligence, but the reality of it was I wanted them to understand that we're going to work on the basics each and every day. We're going to do, if we do the little things better than our competitor, the big things that take care of themselves. And to Mike's point with his coach, you know, hey, it's the little things. And, you know, confirming things is the little things that we can do. So with that being said, let's move on into our show, because I know Steven's anxious to talk. He's over here running around quite a bit. But I do have one other thing I'd like to say before we get in and talking to Steven, because he's got a ton of good stuff to talk to you guys about today. But this morning I was listening to my buddy Eric Jones talk, and I know a lot of you guys listen to Eric on his show. It's between 7 and 8. And he was talking about calculating cost in a lawn program, and I thought it was great. It was funny how he was getting his point across when he was talking about how to calculate herbicide cost. Initially, he started it out with, okay, let's say we wanted 3 truckloads of beer delivered to the GIE Turfs Up radio booth, and there was so much beer in each truck. How much does it cost per beer? And, you know, you get to thinking about it, and it's all about relations when we talk about chemical costs. And I know Steven's going to talk a little bit about that as well. But, you know, sometimes we think, oh, man, it's just way too hard. It's too convoluted, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, I call Steven all the time, and I'll tell him, I'll say, man, I'm stuck. And, you know, and I fool with cost all the time, you know, but I get stuck myself sometimes and just need, oh, yeah, that's right, man. I just couldn't get there. You know, I just couldn't get there. So I'm pretty good at calculating my cost on stuff, but don't feel like you're stupid when you got to reach out to somebody for some help. That's the key, you know, because the stupid thing is not to ask for the help. You know, you think, man, I don't want them to think I don't know. I don't care what I don't know. What I want to know is what the right answer is to something. And that's why I enjoy when Steven comes in and he talks to me and, you know, talks to you guys here on Turfs Up Radio, that he's really good at what he does. And we're going to certainly talk about early order programs on that. But I wanted to share Eric Jones' story this morning, because I know my daughter, who's a high school math teacher and has her master's and all, and she says she relates things like that and down to where they can a person can understand. They meaning her scholars in her classroom. And she said it's just easier when you think about it in terms that you understand. And just so happens Stephen's wife's a teacher too, right?
She is.
She is. So, but anyway, hopefully you had a chance to hear that. If you didn't, certainly go back and listen to Eric's show on that. And then Hecapus had his morning show, great again. And Daniel was talking with his Fun Fact Friday, was talking about the pyramids. And the pyramids are pretty cool if you think about it. I mean, I think he said those blocks weigh like as much as an elephant or something. I mean, that's crazy to think how they did that, and like the doors were 20 tons or something, I think he said, but you could just simply push them open. The technology and the mindset. And you think, Wayne, what the hell's that got to do with profit time and, early orders and whatnot? It all goes to mindset, how you feel about something. You can do it if you put your mind to it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is this early order. Because a lot of times, people don't put their mind to it. They don't think about early orders. You don't want to think ahead. And Stephen's going to share quite a few ideas with us on that. But we certainly got to think ahead. And, if you guys, I appreciate you listening to me here on Profit Time. And if you have not downloaded my podcast yet, I would appreciate that you do that. And also, I'd appreciate if you'd certainly give me a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts for me. Right there where you find Profit Time. So, all right, Stephen.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you, man.
Appreciate you being here.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming. The second or third time? I know it's a second, maybe third.
I know at least second.
At least second, and we're going to talk about early order programs, if you don't mind, because, I want to think of the right word. I used to never participate. I'm just going to go that route, or not enough. My early order was if I needed ice melter, I would do it in December.
Right.
Or if I need a pre-emergent, I'd call somebody in February or March and thinking I was doing it early. But Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm gonna let you talk a while.
Okay. Well, I run a small distributorship here in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're headquartered out of Nashville, Tennessee. But I'm a one-man operation up here. I deal with lawn care, sports turf, golf courses, all facets of the green industry, and you see everything from lawn care. You get those problems. Just moving forward, I'm going to start with what you said about early order. You never participated. Take advantage of these programs. We want you as distributors and manufacturers of products. We want you to participate in these products. The uncertainty of product availabilities and everything. It's not like it was 5-10 years ago, even.
Right. I know. That is true. So true, because just a couple months ago, I went to one of the dealers that we work with. We were buying another. We had a truck on order that finally got here 10 months later. But I went to our dealer and was ordering a salt box for it, and they're like. I was like, hey, man, this is what I want. And they're like, okay, well, let me see when we can get it.
Exactly.
And this was back in June, I think, when I approached them about it, and they were so used to, I call it the Domino's pizza mentality. You order something and 30 minutes from now it's at the door.
Right.
Or you want something, you go to your distributor, your dealer, whatever, and you expect them to have 27 cases of this. And,
right.
Or whatever it is you need. So, yeah, to your point, man, it is. It's different than it used to be.
And the last thing that I want to have to tell a customer or an end user is the order's been placed, but it's out of my control. I can't tell a delivery driver or truck driver, hey, I need it here by X date.
Right.
You know, that's the worst part of my job, is having to go back and say, hey, Wayne, you know that pre-emergent we talked about, or that herbicide? Guess what? I've had some logistical nightmares. It's not going to be here when you want it. And just trying to adjust to that aspect of the business. You know, it's not all.
How much has that affected you all this year like it has us? I know we've literally had a problem securing bagged mulch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that does come all the way across from the state of Washington,
right,
across the country.
Right. Well, let's just start with seed. We're in the renovation season right now, okay? We, as Sigma Organics, we have a seed or a seed producer, Mountain View Seed, over in Oregon, and we are one of their larger users here in the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. And we had to put our seed orders in April, May, and that's even before the harvest took place. You know, if we as a company had waited, we would have been SOL.
Right.
You know, so we've had to learn we can't wait until it's time to do it. We have to do it a month, 2 months before, so we can have product to be able to sell and deliver to you guys.
Right. You know, when you're trying to place, everybody's forecasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it amounts to.
Or you should be forecasting.
Or should be. And I'm not talking about the weather forecast, which sales forecasting, right? I mean, you know, so, you know, you guys are trying to think in April, okay, well, how much is Wayne's Lawn Service going to buy? How much is XYZ Golf Course going to buy? How much is our turf, athletic turf guys going to? It's a guessing game. And I think that's the hat that we need to put on more frequently as business owners, as small business owners. You know, a guy sitting out there, well, I'm just a one-truck operation. That doesn't matter, does it?
Right. No, it doesn't.
It shouldn't matter.
It doesn't. Because we'll get more into this with the early order. But end users have to understand that right now is the best time to get the best deals on early order. And by giving me the advantage of, hey, I'm going to use 50 gallons of three-way or whatever, okay? It now gives me an opportunity to put all my customers together and get a larger volume. So guess what? You guys get the best price. So
it's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win.
And I just got a text here from Ben, and he's like, early order discounts contribute to the net profit dollars for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, and it really is a win-win. And I know you're going to get into this, but, you know, a lot of my resistance used to be, because I didn't know, didn't ask, didn't do my due diligence on what early order programs were out there. But I always worried about payment structures. Mm-hmm. And I know it's something you'll talk about, but and I don't want to get you ahead of your, you know,
that's fine.
Get your cart in front of your horse. But, you know, to Ben's point, it gives us all an opportunity to make more.
It does.
And save more. You know, and if we can put it in our pocket,
keep it in your pocket.
Keep it in your pocket. You know, you get to make more. We get to make more. Our customers get a better price.
Right.
You know, so it's a win-win for everybody. So we're going to take a short break here, and I'm going to let you get back into our early order programs. He's just he looks like a Kentucky thoroughbred at the starting line, man. He's ready to rock out. But we're up here on a break, and I thought we'd take a quick break before we get going. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. We'll be right back.
There's more to landscape lighting than just throwing a fixture under a tree. The best display is one that was not only designed well, but also stands the test of time. High-quality fixtures and bulbs are key to long-term success and customer happiness. At Emery Allen, our focus is on creating only the highest performance landscape bulbs in the industry, with long-lasting components that don't degrade or flicker with age. Each bulb's appearance is always consistent throughout your lighting project. We offer a wide range of base types, beam spreads, and color choices that will fit your needs. To learn more, give us a call at 843-480-4473 or email us at info@emeryallen.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world, no one rocks like Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey Turfs Up Radio fans, do you know what time it is? That's right, it's Turfs Up Radio time. Now you can hear the latest updates in green industry news, services and technology. Learn about new products all while enjoying the best music. If you don't believe me, then ask my good friend Alexa. Just say launch Turfs Up Radio.
Lawn and landscape pros need to keep their competitive edge, and the easiest way to do that is by attending GIE Plus Expo this October 20th through the 22nd. There's only one word to describe the biggest action-packed experience in the outdoor equipment industry. Wow! Over 1,000 indoor exhibits wall-to-wall with innovative products and the latest technology. Talk face-to-face with the engineers that design your favorite equipment. Then step outside and dive into the hands-on demo area where you can drive, dig, and compare equipment to your heart's delight. This year, the wow gets even bigger with the new UTV test track, the hands-on drone zone, and free parking. Free parking! Register now at GIE-Expo.com, and we'll see you in Louisville, Kentucky this October.
Free parking, absolutely. You know, that used to be one of the biggest complaints they got out of that place was paying to park. So, you know, hey, they listened to it and they just built it into the registration, right? You know, hey, all we got to do is listen to our customers.
If you're making the trip to the GIE Plus Expo, then you don't want to miss the Big and Rich concert presented by Heritage Landscape Supply Group at the Mercury Ballroom on Thursday, October 21st. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. right after the event floor closes. Tickets, food, and drinks are all free of charge and all provided by Heritage. To get your free tickets while they last, register online at heritagelandscapesuppligroup.com. What are you waiting for? Register now.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be a great time, great time. Be sure to get those free tickets. Hey, everybody listening to us as Stephen's going through and talking to us about our early order during our conversation, you know, be sure to reach out. Reach out to us if you got any questions for Stephen. He said he'd be happy to answer any questions you got. I know most of you guys listening are in different parts of the country, but, you know, he'd be happy to help you any way he can. So just shoot us a text at 502-550-8307. It's 502-550-8307. And that's the way if you got anything you want to comment on, let me know. I'll pass it along to him. And then he also will give you his contact information a little bit later. But throw too many numbers out there, it's kind of like looking at a P&L sheet sometimes, right?
Your head will start spinning.
Yeah. So hey, give you 37 phone numbers and a lock code, and you know you don't remember any of it. So anyway, Stephen, go ahead. Let's talk now about specifically what you guys do.
Sure.
You know? And first of all, I know I appreciate you coming in and not wanting to make a commercial out of yourself. You know, I know that's some resistance a lot of times, but the reality of it is, you know, you've always been very professional. You don't promote yourself, but hey, feel free. I mean, if these guys are in your market,
most definitely.
Well, I'm sure you don't mind if they give you a call.
Right. No, if any of your listeners are in the Tennessee, Northern Alabama, Kentucky, Southern Indiana listening area, then feel free to call us. You know, I work for Sigma Organics. We're out of Nashville, Tennessee. You can call them at 615-383-0206, and they would be happy to help you out with any early orders you might have or just discussing the early order.
I got you.
They can reach out to me here in Louisville, 502-645-4808, and I'd be happy to answer any questions they might have.
Yeah, Mike just sent me a text. He says, how about Southern Kentucky? So
we can work something out.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get in it. Let's talk about early orders. And
okay.
You want to talk about herbicides and chemicals first, or you want?
Well, let's talk about the benefits of early orders.
All right, absolutely.
The early order program, if you've never participated, can be somewhat of a daunting task because you've got so many programs. You know, QualiPro, you've got Syngenta, Bayer, BASF, you name it. They generally have an early order program, and distributor like me comes in and sits down and, my gosh, we've got 10 programs, 12 programs sitting on your desk. It can be a little overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Hey, not to interrupt you, I've got a text. This is right where you're at with what you're talking about. Gentleman says, how do you talk to suppliers as a new guy inquiring information without sounding like a price shopper?
Don't feel like a price shopper because, listen, whether you're treating 5 acres, 50 acres, 500 acres, 5,000 acres, it all matters. So don't feel like you're price shopping because everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Right.
Whether you're Site One, Advanced Turf, Sigma Organics, Harold, whoever, they're going to have their little nuances. So I would take the advantage to reach out to multiple distributors and say, what can you do for me?
See, that's why I like you right there. You're not, it doesn't have to be me. Check 2 or 3.
Sure. Now, I would love your dollars to come to me.
That's right.
But,
right. We all like to eat. We all understand profit.
Right. But,
that's right.
But you as a business owner, you have to do what's right for your business.
Yeah. You owe it to yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. So
go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. So obviously, the biggest benefit of early order is you get to save money. That's the obvious one. You get to lock in your price for your upcoming growing season, okay? And generally, for anybody that hasn't participated in the early order program, early order generally runs from October 1 to sometime generally mid-December. Sometimes with various programs, they might go after the new year too. So that's kind of one of those nuances.
So do the discounts sometimes change? Like
yes.
The earlier I buy in for next year.
Correct. Yes. The earlier you get in on the train, per se, the
right.
better discount you're going to get.
Okay. Now, don't be offended then as an end user like I am. Mm-hmm. If I wait till next February to get into an early order program potentially, I may not get the same deal that somebody got going in October or November.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because one of my philosophy is, listen, early order starts right now. You've got a month and a half, 2 months to think about it, and make a decision. So why should I have to bend over as a distributor for someone that didn't do their homework
right.
while the opportunity was there?
To what we were talking about earlier, doing a little forecasting, like, hey,
correct.
I've got 100 accounts, let's say, or 50 accounts right now.
Right.
Well, okay, what do I think do I want to get set goals, right?
Right.
And if I think I'm going from 50 to 75, let's say, or 5,000 to 7,000,
right.
The number doesn't matter.
Right.
I got to put that hat on.
Right. And as a business owner during early order, you've probably got a pretty good idea as to how many accounts you're going to service with fertilizer and weed control program. So this is your opportunity to say, I can't forecast what I don't have, but you can forecast based upon your retention rates, whether that's a 90%, 95, whatever. And then you can make an educated decision to your distributor saying, this is how much I'm looking for.
Even if you don't go all in and, hey, I'm going to try to get 100% right, which I can tell I've never ever got 100% exactly right on any early order.
Right.
But you got to decide what you're going to be satisfied with.
Exactly.
It's kind of like what you did with me and Seed this year. I had 2 different programs I worked with, you and somebody else.
Right.
And you were willing to give me part of that.
Right.
And that's something to our listeners I'd like them to know too, that you don't have to go all in with one person.
Exactly. And that's one of my benefits is, try it with one distributor, try a program with one distributor, try a different program with a different distributor. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And you have to learn through heartache sometimes of, well, that worked well for me, but this one didn't.
Right.
And then we as distributors will come back and say, okay, we learned from our mistake how we need to present the program to you, the end user.
Right. Because, I certainly see that, and then me as an end user, I can't complain that, well, damn, you gave ABC Company a better discount. Well, they bought 50% more than you did or 30% more than you did.
Right.
So to Aaron's point on, you don't want to sound like a price shopper from his side.
Right.
But I think you made that clear. Don't feel like a price shopper. Just, hey, I'm just trying to secure where my product's coming from.
Right.
Because now with shipping and availability that you touched on earlier of any products, it's a pain.
It is.
It's a pain.
It is.
So with that side of it being said, we got to put on our forecasting hat as a business owner a little bit. And I like your idea, and it's simple. Hey, what's your normal retention rate? Is it 80%, 50%, 100%? Okay, then if you know that, you know your square footage.
Right. Give me a base to start with of square footage. Because without that, I'm throwing darts at a wall, hoping I hit the board.
And you know that's how a lot of our industry does their pricing.
Right.
Unfortunately. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here. It's just that's the reality of it. So, all right, let's move along. Go ahead. Go tell us what's our next move then?
Well, so I think, once you've decided to participate in an early order, now I need to know realistically how deep do you want to go into the weeds, okay?
Okay.
So my philosophy, I've changed my thinking several times with early order. And realistically, you can look at it this way. With early order and the terms that we try to give you, you can get extended terms. That's one of the benefits to it, okay? You don't have to pay me all up front, okay?
That's what always scared me away because I never asked that question.
Right.
And I always thought, well, yeah, I'd love to do that. But two things. I don't have the cash.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we can change that. That's what Profit Time's all about. But maybe you still don't want to take that cash out in October or November of something you're going to use. So the term availability certainly is very important.
Right.
And storage capacity.
Exactly.
For small guys, you got a guy that's a 1 or 2 truck operation. They may or may not be able to do that. They don't have a place to put everything like that. So what are some things that you all offer versus your competitor or what some of your competitors offer that you don't offer?
That's a great question. So, as long as I know the terms of the deal, and that's why don't get upset with your vendor, because he's asking you a million questions. He's trying to understand the situation better so he can be more efficient with his space, his time, his, profitability, okay? And so, answer those questions honestly, because if I understand the situation a whole lot better, now I can go, hey, Wayne, you're needing that prodiamine or you're needing that dimension for your early order about mid-March. So now I can say, I don't want to see the product at my warehouse, and it just trickles down so much easier if I understand the whole situation.
I got you. All right. And then traditionally, what kind of discounts are available to somebody?
Okay.
Not just necessarily with you guys, Stephen, but yours specific.
Right.
But and if you want to share that, that's fine. Like, what's a contractor going to save by committing? Early?
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll tell you what we did last year, and we're very much we liked what we saw last year. So we as a distributor will give you payment terms. The quicker you're going to pay me, the bigger discounts you're going to get. Okay. So we use New Year's Eve. Okay, if you'll pay me and make a commitment before New Year's Eve, I'll give you 5% right off the top for whatever you're going to spend. 5%. If you want to pay me before the end of January, then it goes down to 3%.
Okay.
And then if you want extended payment terms, I think that was 2%. And extended payment terms is we did equal payments in March, April, and the end of May.
So you're giving a guy a chance to get out and apply the product and have the receivables.
Exactly. You don't have to pay me out of your pocket and then recover your money. Hopefully, if everything works out well, your customer will pay you, you pay me back, and we pay our manufacturer.
And the times that we're seeing this year, all year, with shipping issues.
Right.
What do you guys specifically guarantee somebody that participates in an early order program?
Right.
Because I know we've never had any problem with anything you've done with us, chemical-wise. You said, hey, we're going to have X number of cases.
Right.
And when we needed them, they were there.
Well, and that's the benefit to early order is that if you get in on the bus, and let's say the program ends mid-December, okay, well, now that manufacturer is going to take all their orders for Sigma Organics, and they're going to ship it to us.
So do you bring those into like your warehouse, for an example?
Yes,
they here?
Yes, they will come into our warehouse, and we generally will start shipping the product February, March. Generally, we have a deadline.
So you'll store it.
We'll store it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's part of me asking you, when do you want to see your product?
Right.
Now we do have a term that we would like to see most early orders start to, you take delivery.
Getting them out so you can make room for
right,
other stuff
exactly,
coming in.
exactly.
For the people that didn't early order.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because I've got to replace my product for the ones that didn't early order.
I got you. So it's not hard. I mean,
it's not hard. And don't be afraid to ask me. Ask one of your buddies that might be, a competitor business in the lawn care. What worked for you? Now they may or may not give you that information.
Now what happens, Stephen? And I'm putting you on a spot a little bit here. I didn't tell. And hey guys, I really didn't tell him I was going to ask him this question, but I promise I ain't throwing you too far under the bus. Okay. But what happens in a year like this year? Let's say I would have early ordered my seed.
Okay.
From you guys.
Okay.
Okay, in March or April.
Okay.
Okay, before we knew there was going to be a problem with seed production and all that.
Right.
At what point is that early order pricing guaranteed? When it's paid, or how do you all handle that problem? Because I had a little bit of an issue with another supplier that we use on an early order.
Okay.
And it's actually going to cost them quite a bit of money.
Right.
On our business,
so
down the road.
Right. So for something like that with the seed situation, okay, I personally had a situation where I had another customer of mine, and he uses anywhere from 4 to 6 pallets of seed. Okay. And he said, Stephen, I would love to keep the volume the same, okay, but can you get me that price? Can you get me that same price? And I knew that seed was going up. And I said, Mr. Smith, per se, I would love to give you that same price, but I'm hearing through the grapevine that the price is going up. How much? I don't know. Right. Now let's expect the worst, but let's hope for the best situation. So that way, I'm trying to leave, there's a little ambiguity here. I'm not tying myself down to a price per se. Okay. And then once I realize the harvest and how much availability is there and supply and demand, then I can make my true cost and say, this is it. This is the price. Now with early order on chemicals, those manufacturers generally can set their price, and that's why they can honor these discounts, because they know about how much they need to produce.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And so that's why you get these early order deals. Fertilizer can be done the same way, and that's why you don't see a whole lot of fertilizer deals going on, because you've seen it. The price of urea is so fluctuating, it's so volatile that generally, it's almost, if you're going to do something with a fertilizer, you have to say the price is today, and you either have to make a decision and take it,
right,
or you have to let it pass and re-examine.
Right. And that's fair. I mean, that's fair. I know I just did an early order a while back with some bulk salt from a company. And, that was their thing. The two things that I like with them, and they haven't let us down so far in it. We've been working with them for several years now. One is we had some availability issues one time on an early order.
Right.
That was supposed to have been ours. And because we got into, and you guys that are doing snow and ice management, you guys can appreciate this. It may happen in your markets as well, but as you get a few back-to-back snows somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in your market. It could be snowing like crazy, in Kentucky and Indiana, but Ohio and Pennsylvania may have a problem with material because they're trying to send it this way.
Right. The supply chain's got to come down.
The supply chain, coming this way, or vice versa. It's snowing a lot up there, and we can't get material. Okay. But what happened with me, and what frustrated me with a company that we used prior to them was, and now I know to ask this question, and so that's why I'm sharing this with everybody on Turfs Up Radio. We had contracted material, but what happened was the material was quarantined but for our local municipalities around here.
Right.
okay? And I thought, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, I mean, I've committed to X number of pounds of material.
Right.
You know, well, they couldn't do anything about it, supposedly. Okay, and I get it. Maybe they were in a bad situation too. But what I did, I moved on the following year to somebody else that had a better plan.
Right.
With theirs. And I think that's something I'd like to share with everybody is make sure you get some kind of commitment from, if you buy from, you know, your herbicide from Steven or like he said, Advanced Turf or whoever it may be out there, that you've got some guarantee that, yeah, once you order this and just specifically pay for it,
right,
that product, in my mind, should be mine. Right. And that's what the supplier that we work with now does on our bulk material.
Right.
You know, once it's paid, it's in a different holding site.
Right.
It's our material.
Well, and trust me, I can understand when the municipalities come calling, they're going to do what they want to do.
Right.
Okay. And realistically, you can't change, you know, the higher ups' decisions to say, I'm taking your salt. I don't care what you do.
I'm commandeering your salt.
I'm commandeering your salt.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, as a distributor, you know, I try to make a promise because we've agreed to X product for X price, X quantity. Okay. If for some reason something outside my control can't be, you know, completed to agreement, then as a distributor, we have to, one, look at replacement cost. And if you paid for it, then I have to start looking at crediting you back because it's out of my control. I can't do that, you know. So we'll give you your money back. We're going to be honest because we need you to come back to us for more business.
And I didn't mean to throw you under the bus with that, but I mean, that was one of the most frustrating winter problems I came into.
Right.
Because, you know, we do try to stay ahead of the game.
Right.
When it comes to, well, I mean, sitting here now, man, I mean, we got literally 3 truckloads of bagged material.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we got probably 150 tons minimum, at least, of bulk sitting back there.
Right.
But it's all because it was early order program stuff.
Right.
That we committed to, said we would take.
Right.
And paid for and got and took.
Right.
You know, but I just want guys to know that when you're out there doing your early order program, that's a question to ask, you know, the distributor or your dealer or whoever, whatever level you're buying from.
Right.
Hey, man, is that my stuff?
Right.
And is it going to be there? And not just material, but like you said, the herbicides and I guess pre-emergence, it's a little bit easier game because the supply chain with material like ice melter changes within a few days of a big storm going across the East Coast.
Right.
You know, whereas it can
there's variables that can be out of your control with situations like that.
Right. So, anyways, I didn't mean to get us off on an ice melter tangent with that, but I think that's one lesson I learned the hard way. You know, that as good as the early order program looked and the pricing was awesome and all this, when I didn't have the product, the early order program didn't matter.
Right.
You know, and all they could do was say they're sorry, which I get that too. They had no control over it.
Right.
So I had to find somebody that rode a different horse, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what we found, somebody that actually sets that product aside.
Right.
Supposedly, I guess they do.
Right.
Because we've never had any problem moving forward.
Right.
When other guys couldn't get material on getting ours in.
Right.
So what else you got?
Well, so I thought we would take a quick look at just comparing some of these early order programs.
Yeah, let's do that, man. We are in 1054 already.
Wow.
But that's all right. We'll creep over. That's
hey,
all right.
I will stay as long as you need me to.
I don't think we got anybody coming on after us today.
Okay.
So we'll be all right.
So what I'd like to do, and understand this, that...
Let me do this, Steve.
Yeah.
Since you committed to a little more time.
Okay.
And I did too. Let's take a short break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. We're sitting here with Stephen West with Sigma Organics, trying to give us the ins and outs of all the early order program. We'll be right back.
This is Lou Blacksale from Liars of Ur, and you are listening to Turf's Up Radio. TurfsUpRadio.com, baby. Wow.
Are you tired of working dawn to dusk 7 days a week and still struggling? Working hard isn't your issue. What you need to focus on is the business side of your business. That's where Profits Unlimited comes in. With our 42 years of experience in the industry, we have faced the challenges you are going through. We can help you with bidding, contracts, marketing, selling, and much more. Check us out at profitsrus.com. That's profitsareus.com when you are ready to earn what you deserve. And don't forget, tune into Profit Time at 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Remember, profit is not a dirty word.
Attention all pros. When you leave a deal with your clients, don't leave money on the table. Join Turfs Up Nation today and partner with pros all across the country who can help you make more money for your services that are related to your project. Landscapers need plumbers, and pool installers need hardscapers, and every combination in between. Turfs Up Nation is free, your information is secure, and you'll be connected with other pros in the industry who want to do business with you. And not to mention property owners who need help with everything. If you think your clients don't need you and the connections you have, think again. Join TurfsUpNation.com today and start putting more money in your pocket for services you never knew you could. Just remember to sign up for this free service. Go to TurfsUpNation.com.
Welcome back. And we're creeping in on the 11 o'clock hour here shortly. But Stephen has agreed to stay with us a little bit longer over time, and I think we're just going to go ahead, Stephen, and go for a few extra minutes if you're good with it. So, yeah,
Fine.
Tell us a little bit about what we got going there.
So I worked out just a sample program last night and just trying to relay to your listeners as to how much money they can save with an early order program.
All right.
And I just pulled a couple products out of the clear blue sky. And for anybody that might be sitting at their desk, they can pull these programs up online. They're readily available, not that you have to use these people to buy from, but these are national programs. What happens in Washington State's going to happen here in Kentucky. It's going to happen here in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
They're pretty much universal programs. So I figured we would look at a lawn care company that basically takes care of about 100 acres, okay,
All right.
per se. And, somebody that likes to use Dimension products, that late post-emergent, get a little crabgrass control and targeting a quarter pound. And I hope I'm not going over anyone's head, but, these are the calculations that you need to look at as an end user. And I'm more than happy to sit down with you. If it takes 4 hours, guess what? That's what it takes.
That's what you get.
That's what it takes. So my job is to help you understand the best deal for you. So let's just compare a liquid Dimension 2EW that you would get from Corteva or the old Dow, DuPont Dow, okay?
Right.
And, obviously, intelligence tells me, hey, I've been in this business long enough. I generally know a pretty good price that, I'm going to see with Dimension 2EW. And the last time I saw that, Dimension in a 2.5-gallon jug cost you $538.75, okay? And I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible. We're going to get this into a gallon unit of measure so we all can understand everything, okay? So that equivalates out to $215.50. If you go on to any program, pull up the Corteva early order program, they have some stipulations. You would need, for that 100 gallons, 12.5 gallons of material to spray your 100 acres for a quarter pound of AI. Okay? And so basically they have a minimum quantity that you have to purchase 10 gallons. You're at 12.5, so you qualify. And they have a rebate of $120 if you participate during the first early order period. For early order period 2, it's $96. Okay? But I want people to understand, if you get in on the boat, these are the discounts you're going to get.
Right.
Okay? So in all honesty, that's $12 a gallon if you equivalent it out.
Right.
Okay? So now you're down to $203.50. Sound pretty good so far, right? So you just do the math and you multiply that $203.50 times your 12.5 gallons. You've got an EOP cost of $2,543.75.
What's an EOP for?
EOP, is early order program.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that's your early order program price. Now, let's look at if you were to do this in season and wait until
February or March to order.
Well, then you revert back to that $215.50 gallon price, and now I believe, if my math was correct, it goes back up to $2,693.75. So there's a $150 difference that you're just giving away.
Yeah, so that's $150
with one product.
Thinking about it a little bit.
A little bit.
One product,
exactly.
You put in your pocket.
Exactly.
And to Ben's point earlier, hey, early order programs are net profit in somebody's pocket.
Right.
Or should be.
Right. Now if you don't mind, let me look at my version of Dimension that I sell. Okay. And let's look at it from this way. So I sell.
So what are you looking at?
I'm looking at a post-patent brand of Dimension. Okay. Now we generally
know. For guys that aren't sure, not to interrupt you. Once does that mean you're getting? Is that the same product, or is that
it's
as almost as good as?
It's no. It is. Understand this. It is the same active ingredient. Okay. So the best analogy I can that I can use is you go to Target, okay, and you've got Tylenol, or you've got acetaminophen. Same thing.
Okay.
Just the product is two different names, and acetaminophen is the active ingredient in Tylenol.
Okay.
So you've got to look at that label and be able to comprehend
so you're getting
what
the
you're
same
looking
product, same percentage of product.
Correct.
And
if not, then you've got to look at the active ingredient that's in that, and then you've got to do your math based upon what's on that label.
I see.
Okay. So we know that post-patent or the basic chemistries, they're a little bit cheaper than, your name brand chemistries. So I just use the price point of $205 a gallon for my liquid Dimension that I sell to Thiopure. Okay. Now understand this, Wayne. My unit of measure is not the same as the 2.5 gallon jug. I can't get it in 2.5 gallon jugs. I can only sell it in 1 gallon increments. Okay. So that's why I did the math with the unit of measure being in gallons, so I can comprehend.
You're comparing apples to apples.
Exactly.
Same active ingredient.
Exactly.
Same volume of active ingredient.
Exactly.
And
so
putting them both in 1 gallon jugs.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So with my program, and we didn't get into this, so this is the advantage of looking at different distributors and what they have available to offer you. Okay. So last year, we had 3 ways you can capitalize. 1, we talked about your payment terms, how you want to pay, when you want to pay, and the discount you get. 2, you have the manufacturer rebates that we would let you have as well. Okay. And then 3, we did a quote-unquote share the love program. For every vendor or manufacturer that you spent in excess of $2,000 with, we gave you an extra 0.5% discount. So that money adds up, okay? Right. So let's go back through this math and say if you pay $205 in season per gallon of the Thiopure, there is an instant $2 rebate from QualiPro. Okay? And I say instant. There are other terms, but let's just say for all instances, you're going to get every rebate. Okay. So you get $2 back. So now you're at $203 a gallon. Okay. And you need 13 gallons because I can't split a half gallon.
Right.
So you've got to get the next jug to make sure you get everything. So you take 203, multiply it by 13 gallons, and your cost is $2,639. Okay. Well, with my terms, and let's say you want to pay, Stephen, I've got the money. I want to pay you by New Year's. Okay. I want the biggest rebate. Well, there's 5% right there.
On top of that.
On top of the QualiPro.
Okay.
Okay. So basically what I'm saying is, and you've also spent in excess of $2,000.
So $2,600 there.
You're saving.
I've got another $130.
Well, you're saving another 5.5%. Yeah. So in honesty, that gets you down to $2,493.86.
Yeah.
So, you look at that, if you take advantage of all the rebates and you compare it back to in-season pricing, well, that right there is $171 savings. So that's where you have to look at, is it better for me to do in-season buying? Do I need to do some early order forecasting and say, let me save a little money?
Right.
So you've got that. So you can look at it from a product-to-product perspective, okay? Now let's go one step further, and let's say you go with me, but you want to kind of Happy Meal, a couple different vendors together, okay? Because I'm not limiting myself to just one manufacturer. I'll let you mix and match vendors, because I said for every vendor you spend in excess of $2,000, you get an extra 0.5%. Okay? So let's look at, for example, PBI Gordon's T-Zone. Okay? And I'm just pulling numbers out because generally, understand this, guys, that October 1st, when the early orders start, that's when your manufacturer's fiscal year generally recycles.
Okay.
And they are setting their prices for the fiscal year that they're coming up on. Okay. So new pricing will come out. So I'm just pulling numbers out of thin air as an example.
No, I got you.
In the situation.
Yeah, we're good.
So let's say you're treating, again, the 100 acres, okay? You're going to treat, just for easy math, at 1.5 ounces of T-zone. So that's every acre will get 64 ounces. So every gallon of product will treat 2 acres.
Right.
Easy enough?
Easy enough math there.
So you're going to need 50 gallons of product. And let's just say that every jug of T-Zone is $160. Well, you need 20 jugs. So your in-season price would be $3,200 if everything stays the same. Okay? Let's say it does.
So now I'm going to jump into an early order program with somebody and say what kind of percentage. That's what I'm going to compare to, right?
So exactly. So now you can pull up the PBI Gordon page, okay, or get a hard copy, whatever, and you'll learn that for every 2.5 gallon jug that you buy, you will get $11.25 back. Okay.
Now, is that coming back from PBI Gordon?
That
is that a rebate off of your invoice?
No. That is, when I say manufacturer's rebate and PBI Gordon, that's coming from them. Okay. And that's a different set of problems. You can get it as a check back, but you got to wait. Okay. Or you can get it back as a credit on your account to use for further purchases towards PBI Gordon. Okay. But for all purposes, let's just say you're going to get $225 back because of the amount you're buying with 20 jugs and 20 times 11 and a quarter a jug.
Math on that.
Right. You're getting $225 back from PBI Gordon. Okay. Now, we also learned you got to go back and say, well, I'm spending $3,200. That's more than $2,000.
Right.
So for this vendor with me, you would be getting another 0.5%.
I see.
So there are calculations out there that if you can combine your programs with one vendor or try another one. My point is, guys, once you calculate everything out, if you went with something like me, okay, and that program, and you buy the Thiopure and your PBI Gordon T-Zone, whatever, there's $602, almost $603 worth of savings there if you play your cards right.
And we're not talking about something that would be considered a large.
No, I mean, very small.
Yeah.
So that's where
I appreciate you building a small scenario. I didn't know how you.
Yeah.
Do
so
it.
that's how
that works. And that's your presentation with that is how I do mine too.
Sure,
Stephen, in a seminar, I built a one truck operation.
Right.
Because we can all understand that we're all at least a one truck operation. Now, I understand everybody's not doing 100 acres maybe right now.
Right.
But that certainly is a realistic goal for somebody
exactly.
to get to.
Exactly.
Is that 100 acres?
Right.
Maybe they're doing 50 acres,
Right.
The point is, you taking advantage of an early order program is certainly to the business owner, me, okay, is advantage. It helps you, the distributor.
Mm-hmm.
It and potentially helps the customer.
Right.
If you would want to pass that along.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, currently, what we do with our early order programs, we'll look at it. We'll know in our mind, okay, based on, like, here we are. We're looking at next year already, right?
Right.
Okay, Wayne's Lawn Service looking into the future in
Right.
our little crystal ball.
Right.
We know that, hey, we're going to have X number of percentage increase in cost and price.
Exactly.
Now, our existing customers, if I can save 2.5%,
you might save.
That means my 4% increase or whatever increase I'm going to have downline regardless turns into a 6%.
Right.
I mean, not exactly, because that's not all things considered, but at the end of the day, to Ben's point earlier on his text to us, that, hey, whatever you can save on an early order program, and just tell me if I'm summarizing this, and I'll let you do your own summary, right?
Yeah.
But okay, because I'm sure you got one how you want to do it. But just in listening to you and my experience doing early order programs, first of all, you got to find something that works for your company.
Correct.
Then you got to work a distributor that understands your company. So now we got a partnership.
Right. Now you got a relationship.
Now you got a relationship going. Hey, I got to understand as an end user that Steven's got to eat.
Right.
I mean, I've told you that many times,
yes.
haven't I?
Yes.
Hey, man, I understand you got to eat. You got to make a profit because
right.
I like you walking through that door.
Right.
And,
you want me coming back through that door.
That's right. So we each got to make a profit,
right.
fair profit. So, but I think the takeaway for our listeners here on Turfs Up Radio is, to Aaron's point on his text, don't feel like you're price shopping because you're all asking for early order programs and discounts.
Right.
Because it ends up helping everybody involved.
Exactly. Exactly. So. And also for your listeners, anybody that has questions, they can reach out to you. Feel free, again, guys, to call me, text me at 502-645-4808. I'll be on the floor at GIE for your listeners that are coming. I'll be happy to point them in a direction of, hey, go check this vendor out. Go check that vendor out. I'll be happy to help them out in any way possible.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about on early order programs?
Just be open-minded with early orders. Don't explore. If you've never participated before, see how much money you can save yourself.
If somebody doesn't know who to approach,
mm-hmm.
how do you suggest? You got a guy, like the one that texts in and says, "Hey, I'm a small company.
Right.
I don't know anything about early order programs." How do they find somebody? How does that person that doesn't know Stephen West exist?
Right. Right.
Okay. Or how do they find somebody like that?
Well, for someone that's going to the GIE that's coming up, okay, stop by these vendors, okay, these manufacturers that make these products. They have a direct line. They know who their distributors are in that area, and they will point you to a person that can at least get you started going down the right path. After that, I almost feel like that user has to somewhat, you got to seek them out. They've got to seek you out. It's got to be it's got to be that relationship where everything just kind of matches up.
Because I know for a long time, and I say this with all due respect, and I've told you this before, we've been in the same location here for 35 years, and I've had 3 salespeople consistently walk through my door. You're one of them. Ben Briscoe was one who sold equipment to us. And then we've got a guy that sells us oil and grease and things like that.
Right.
Other than that, we have very few people that physically call on us. I mean, feet in the street kind of thing, And, I mean, I understand that's hard to come by.
It is.
But at the end of the day, I start working with you.
Right.
Because you did knock on the door. You did walk in.
And you know what? I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but as a distributor learning from ground zero, I just had to get in a vehicle and just go drive and see who I could find on the street.
And ask, hey, Wayne, who do you know in this business, right?
Exactly.
And ask for those referrals.
Exactly. The worst answer you're going to get is, I can't tell you, or no.
Or no, yeah.
They're not going to kill you.
Yeah. That's right. And it's funny, as your company gets bigger and your company grows, for you guys, as you begin to scale your company, everybody wants your business then.
Yes.
Everybody wants your business. Now multiple people call on us, multiple people do this. But I try to stay with the guys and switch and work with guys like Steven, because how long have you been doing this, Steven, now with us?
This will be in April. No, in April. In April of 2022, it'll be 8 years.
8 years. So it's relationships are good, obviously, but it solidifies that relationship when you go see somebody every once in a while. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what I tell people all the time. They get mad when they another lawn service, they call it steals their account.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't steal anybody's account,
right.
or none of my competitors stole my account. I didn't do something for my customer.
Right.
Is why my customer was even looking.
Right.
And once you get your ego out of the way and you understand that as a business owner, that nobody stole your customer. Why was your customer looking is what you got to ask.
Right.
Were you not giving them service?
Right.
Were you not,
There's a factor there as to why you didn't get the business.
There's a reason,
Right.
So anyways, I appreciate your time. We've went over about 15 minutes today, but I appreciate you staying that long.
My pleasure.
As a business owner yourself, man, and ours a lot of time to give up during the day,
My pleasure.
because we only get 24 of them. And
Well, I've already had a call before we went on the air. I need more seed, so the problems still roll on.
That's right. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on with us. And again, we got Stephen West with Sigma Organics. And if you want to reach out to Stephen, feel free. You can reach him on a cell phone at 502-645-4808. Any closing words for you, Stephen, as we get ready to hop off here and call it a Friday, I guess?
Just with early order, forecast. It's getting harder and harder every year to secure product, lock price in on products. Just be ahead of the game, because you'll be glad you did. You'll be glad that you locked yourself up, because now you can be efficient in other areas.
That's right.
You can go sell more jobs.
Go sell more
and be more profitable.
Puts a little pressure on you, doesn't it?
Puts a little pressure.
That's right. There's people always ask me, they're like, Wayne, how'd you send 4 kids through private schools? I said, man, when you know that you got that tuition coming around, it makes it easier to knock on that door, man. It's funny. It's another sell.
It's funny how when your feet are put to the grindstone as to how much you can produce.
You go out and you do that early order, you save yourself some money, but you look at like, daggone, man, I got to sell that to somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody's got to buy it.
Yeah.
So you need a little motivation. You don't think you do, but hey, as Ben Briscoe always says, man, you got to win every day.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to win every day,
right?
But we got to try to win every day.
Right.
And what are you going to do to try to win? Take advantage of those early order programs. Save yourself some money. Yeah, it puts a little pressure on you. Maybe go out and sell some work, but that's okay. Because, hey, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Exactly.
It's just that simple. And, I mean, that's another day, another show. But, at the end of the day, we can't get complacent in where we're at. And Stephen, thanks again. We're going to let our listeners go. We're going to let you get back to your job and get busy and do something, make yourself a little bit of money. But thanks again for being with us today, guys. And remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Monday.
Bullshit.